and I am doing this presentation on my internship at Fruit and Flower in Portland, Oregon. So to start, talking about how I found and arranged my internship. So I did my internship in Portland over the summer, but I normally live in Rexburg, so it was a new area for me. Because of that, I decided to search for anyone in my ward there who had child development connections. Unfortunately, that proved unsuccessful, so I decided to do some research on my own online. I looked up different childcare places in the area, and I called lots of them, and I sent in some resumes, and then by chance I found the Fruit and Flower website, and their number was on there, so I called them, and they told me that I could come in for an interview later that week. So when I went into the interview, I brought two things with me. One was a binder of all the lesson plans that I and my fellow teachers put together working in the preschool at BYU, Idaho. And then the other was the portfolio that I put together for Child 350, all about assessment. She ended up being very impressed by these things, and based on that and what we talked about in the interview, she gave me a job offer. But before accepting it, I asked if I could count working there towards an internship for BYU, Idaho. She agreed to it, and that's how it all began. So as an intern and an employee there, some of the responsibilities I had were, first of all, my position was as an on-call substitute teacher. So that essentially meant that whenever a lead teacher or another substitute needed a sub, I could fill in for them. I also volunteered a little bit there as well. The reason for that was because with just being an on-call substitute, it was difficult to get the full 160 hours that I needed. And so I ended up doing some volunteering in a preschool classroom. But in the end, I only needed to do about 15 hours of volunteering, which I was grateful for. And that's because they are very much in need of substitutes there at Fruit and Flower. I also was responsible for working with any and all age groups of the children there. So that meant there was an infant room, there were two toddler rooms, there was one transition room, transition between toddler and preschool age. There were 3 preschool rooms, and there was a kindergarten room. So this made it hard at times because there were occasions when I was put into a classroom with an age group that I had very little experience with. And so I had to just jump right in and go with it, and just get comfortable with it. But it was a good experience having that diversity of ages. And then as a substitute, I was responsible for caring for, supervising, interacting with, and teaching the children, as well as minor janitorial duties like helping to clean and keep the classrooms organized. I believe that my influence helped to benefit the center, Fruit and Flower. First of all, I was able to apply my knowledge of child development to teaching and interacting with the children. I ended up finding out that quite a few of the employees there didn't have professional academic background in child development. And so my knowledge was unique, and I was grateful that I was able to bring that to my work there. I also focused on always trying to treat the children with respect and kindness. That may sound like a no-brainer, but working in childcare can be very frustrating at times. such as being in a room with 20 infants who are all crying and screaming at the same time and trying to figure out what to do to help all of them. So it can be very easy to get frustrated, and a lot of the teachers there do, unfortunately. But I think that with my commitment to be kind to the children, I was able to be an example to the other teachers of respecting and loving children, no matter the circumstance or the child. And also, I became the first BYU Idaho student to intern at Fruit and Flower, which opened the door for others. In fact, already there's one person who's going to be interning there this fall. And my supervisor agreed to let her come and do that because she was very pleased with my work, and I was able to put out a good name for BYU Idaho students, which I'm really grateful for. I believe I definitely benefited from working at Fruit and Flower. First of all, I learned flexibility by being an on-call substitute. That meant that my schedule varied from day to day, and I didn't know what it was going to be. So I had to make myself available every day, 4 to 5 days a week. Sometimes it meant being called or texted at 4:30 in the morning by a teacher who had woken up sick and was asking if I could substitute just a few hours from that point. And so I tried to be as available as I could to help out. I also had to be flexible in working with a lot of different ages of children. Like I said earlier, there were times when I was thrown into a classroom with an age group that I wasn't comfortable with, and I just had to get used to it. I also was able to learn more about child development by observing it in action. It was really a neat experience because there could be days where I worked in multiple classrooms in a day. For example, I might start in the infant room, go to the toddler room, and end in a preschool room. And throughout that day, I could literally see development unfolding, seeing what the infants could do versus what the toddlers could do and what the preschoolers were capable of. And I ended up realizing that it is amazing just how capable children this young are. And I think we underestimate them a lot. I also learned to take control of my own experience and shape it how I wanted it. At the beginning, things weren't going the way I expected. So I talked with my supervisor and told her what I was looking for. And she allowed me the freedom to shape my experience how I wanted it, which I was very grateful for. I made a lot of connections between coursework and my internship, but a main one that comes to mind is DAP, which stands for Developmentally Appropriate Practices. Fruit and Flower believes in DAP, as do the professors at BYU Idaho. And I was really happy to find that connection because I was already very versed in DAP. But my experience there allowed me to see it in action. I learned that DAP is not a curriculum itself, but rather it's a guide for how to teach and run a classroom. I also saw that the way Fruit and Flower interpreted DAP led to a focus on play in the classrooms and on social development. As one teacher told me, they believed that social development was the best way to be kindergarten ready, rather than having arbitrary academic knowledge. I would recommend this internship site to others, but with a few words of advice and caution so that you can avoid some of the frustrations I had at first. So first, keep in mind that real-world childcare facilities do not always live up to BYU Idaho ideals. It's unfortunate, but it's okay. Don't let that ruin the experience for you. Learn to adapt to other ways of running things and thinking, but don't let go of your ideals. Also, be ready to take control of your own experience to make it enriching, like I was talking about earlier. I had very little guidance, So I had to be assertive about what I wanted from my internship and make it happen. So keep those few things in mind. If you're interested in learning more about an internship possibility or a job here, to get more information, you can go to the Fruit and Flower website at fruitandflower.org, or you can directly call the center at 503-228-8349 and ask to speak to Holly. She was my direct supervisor, so I think she would be the best person to talk to. I hope this was helpful to some of you, and thank you for watching.